Today on the Construction Corner podcast, we're going to talk about retain, reward, ascend clients and team members, how you can create the machine to do it all. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dillon, I'm your host. And today, like I said, it's just going to be me. And we're going to talk about retaining, rewarding, ascending clients and team members, right? So you think about the client ascension path, which really for us is just do a great job, get the next project, right? That is ascension in our world. So we have that, but in ascension from a team member standpoint, that's promotions, that's the next position, that's putting them maybe in a on the construction side, right? You go from maybe your project manager or superintendent, right? Whatever, from project engineer, you go either path. And so it's thinking about the ascension for them, and then the machine or the systems to do each and every one of this. So let's dive in. Today, we'll talk about all this, but first, it's all about attracting, right? Attracting the right talent, retaining the right talent, retaining the right clients, rewarding them, both clients and team members, right? We don't think about this or for clients in terms of reward, but maybe we should. And then ascending, right? So in other businesses, we really don't see this too much in the construction world. Now, it could be in the home services world, right? In tiers of service packages from basic to, gold, super platinum, whatever, plus package that you put people on for service packages. But really, in most of construction, we don't see like an ascension path, quote unquote, in higher ticket. The shit they're already buying is high ticket, right? We're talking 10, $20 billion buildings. That's high ticket. So from like most marketing worlds and circles, we're already in the ascended path, if you will, right? Like our services, our engineering services now, you could say from going from white paper to having meetings with you to then hiring you on as a consultant, right? That's like an ascension path, but that's too far in the weeds for this. So first, attracting talent, attracting clients, attracting talent. Because if we look at this, the client attraction retention is the same, or the path is the same, whether it's for the clients and external or internal and bringing on team members, things like that. So as we look at this, we need to look at it from a both internal and external, because they're pretty much the exact same. One, you're just doing it for team members and keeping them on. Other is for clients. You hope to both have them for extended periods of time, right? Years upon years of service, so long as they're good, right? We want to keep the good ones and get rid of the bad ones. And so through this, we'll go through all of it. So first, attracting. You can only attract people that know about you. So you're not going to attract people that don't know anything about who you are, what you do, why you do it. This means putting out content, right? Posting on the internet about stuff that you're doing, projects you got going, having people talk about it in the community and face-to-face interactions and conversations. This is why you put signs up on the projects that you're working at, so that people can see your company logo associated with a project in a building that is going up. You don't see these on projects you don't want people to know about that you're working on, but any of the big showcase projects you want people to know about that you're working on them. Everybody that worked on the MGM Sphere that just completed in Vegas, everybody knows who worked on it, right? Because it is a primo project and you want everybody to know that it was you that did the things on that project. So talk about the projects that you're working on. Talk about everything that you've got going. Talk about for internal stuff, talk about your culture, your people. This can attract clients as well, right? The projects you do externally can attract clients and team members. The things you do internally as a culture, as a people, can attract not only team members, but clients, right? They're like, oh, those are the types of people that I would like to work with. When you do this, it runs both ways, right? Having a good culture attracts good clients, having good clients attracts good team members, vice versa, right? These are reciprocal and beneficial relationships. So creating content, putting your company and your values and who you are out there to the world is important, right? Not just listening to our podcast and consuming our content, but also putting out your own. And no, Matt and I aren't worried about it. Like, we need more people talking about construction. We need more people getting into the industry. We need more people to be excellent at construction in their communities. right? Like a general contractor in here in California where I am is not competing with Matt in Michigan. Again, Matt might differ for this or his expansion plans. I don't think anytime soon have California in them, but like for now and today and probably the next few years, that's not a competitive environment, right? It's not a competitive landscape. And just like in California, people that are up in Northern California aren't necessarily competing with those in Southern California. So we need more people to come into the industry. We need more talent pool, right? Like one of the biggest challenges in the industry is getting people into the industry. So we need more people to say how great the industry is. We need more people to talk about the just awesome projects that we get to be a part of. Like, yes, we work long hours. We work hard in our industry, right? In construction, everybody works hard. Everybody, pours blood, sweat, and tears into this business. But at the end of the day, the things that we create and build and have are things that we can really be proud of. They're going to stand the test of time. They're going to be there for decades, if not centuries. And that's something to be super proud of in what we're able to accomplish as, architects, engineers, builders, contractors, everybody throughout the industry. So super important to put yourself out there so that you can attract talent, attract clients. Then we start to move into retention. So retention is basically just doing what you say you're all about, right? Being true to your word, being true to your core values, being true to the things that you put on the wall. So long as you do that, you'll retain a lot of people, right? It'll be an environment that people want to be a part of. It'll also attract more talent, right? This retention and attraction cycle continues, right? Because if people love working at a place, they'll talk like they love working at a place. If people don't like working at a place, they will talk badly and not convince anybody to come work there, right? Which then leads into your client conversations, which then means you don't win projects, which means less people work at your firm and the downward cycle continues. So on an upward cycle, right, people like working there, which means they like talking about the firm, which means you get more clients, which means that you need more people, which means that you can hire more, which means you get more clients, which means people talk about it more. So long as you stay on this upward spin trajectory of talking about, and basically just being true to your word. That's as simple as it gets. We can go to in all these strategies and all this other stuff, but in all reality, if you have an office environment or work environment, right? Again, most of you guys are also in the field. Like if you have an environment where you just do the things that you say you're going to do, you're going to be ahead of like 99% of people because most people don't do what they say you're going to do. Like I'm staying late to do this podcast because I told Matt that I would do it. Right. It's that simple. Matt, same thing for last week. Like he stayed late to record a podcast because he said he was going to do it. So the more that you can be a person of your word, the better off you're going to be. And it is really that simple to both attract, but more importantly, retaining talent goes a long, long way. Next, we're going to talk about rewards. So, the reward cycle within a business is typically pretty slow, right? And especially in construction, we don't know if the projects we put out, if they've done well, if they've done poorly. We don't know a lot of things until we actually complete construction, until they're in operation, until we can move to kind of that next phase of the project, right? We don't know how well our designs did. We don't know how well our construction did, until a few years pass, right? Till the thing operates for a little bit. And so with that, we're usually slow to reward. And that's can be hard on employees, right? Especially for folks, especially at the entry levels where they're learning and progressing pretty rapidly, especially for a driven person where they're going and learning all the stuff. They're using their own time. They're working long hours. They're taking courses, on their own time and dime, all that kind of stuff where they're really like gaining skills super rapidly. An annual like check-in raise kind of stuff is honestly like it's a little too long. And even for some of your senior people or people that are in maybe that mid tier, for them it might be every 6 months. For those first people, heck, it might be monthly, to check in, to maybe give them a raise. Like that they met some milestones, that they're doing all the right things, and that they're getting rewarded proportionally for that. So I'll tell the story. In my first job, this really got introduced to me. Small company, I think we might have been just a handful of people at the time, like 5, 6 people was my first job. I worked for them as an intern where it was just a few people. They traveled all the time. And like I stayed in a hotel for 3 months. I was platinum at Hilton as a junior in college because I just lived in a Hampton for 3 months, which was kind of neat. And we traveled a decent amount in the summer when I was interning and all that kind of good stuff. So I loved it. We did electrical safety and arc flash. And so in that job, when I took my full-time position there, in my contract, actually, in my job offer letter, it had, base salary, and then there was maybe 5, 6 line items that they ranged from like $500, I think, to like $5,000 raise. If I learned these skills, like, hey, can I put a report together? Am I proficient with power tools? Am I doing coordination correctly? Am I doing arc flash correctly? Am I like, it had stuff like that, right? All related to my job, all those kind of tasks. And so in checking each one off, like, I could get a raise. And so that was pretty cool in how that did. Like, these were definite tasks, like yes, no, hey, you're not here yet. I mean, I had to like kind of propel the conversation along to get that raise. But again, it was clear in black and white. It was in writing. It was a signed deal. I thought that was a very good way to handle it, actually. In like, hey, you learn this, here's a $500 raise. Like, hey, you learn this, it's $1,000 increase or $1,500 increase or $5,000 increase, whatever it was. At the time, I can't remember off the top of my head, but things like that were I thought that was just a great way to handle it in rewarding and ascending people. Now, the other conversation that I've had recently is, and you see this in a lot of bigger firms, and again, this is going to be from the design side because that's where I come from. But like, if you're entry level, like graduate engineer, right? So typically the tiers are like graduate engineer, engineer, senior engineer, principal, or associate, principal, right? And then maybe C-suite. So in that progression, like, those are big leaps. You're going to be a graduate engineer for 4 years, right? You're going to be an engineer for another 4 years. You're going to be a senior engineer for probably your entire career. You might move to department head at some point. Then, you might become an associate at some point, right? Probably after you get your license. Then you're going to become a principal at some point, but this is like 15, 20 years down the road. Like, that's a long stretch with no kind of reward system. So what you see in bigger firms is a move towards like graduate engineer 1, 2, 3, right? So now, like, every year you come in as graduate engineer 1, then 2, then 3, then you're going to be there a year, then you'll get your license, and then you'll be, engineer 1, right? Electrical engineer 1, electrical engineer 2, electrical engineer 3, senior engineer 1, senior engineer 2, senior engineer 3, right? Associate or principal. Like, then you have like a clear path that's on a very regular cadence. You have specific milestones and markers that you can meet to then move to the next pay category. And then you can even categorize them like they do in the military. Like, hey, you're a E5, you're an O4, you're a O8, you're whatever, right? O22. Like, you then have these pay ranges for each basically job position and title. Now, a lot of this has to be like when you're kind of a more mature organization and you don't have multiple people wearing, or you don't have people wearing multiple hats, where like, this is your job, this is your role, this is your bucket, right? We have people to handle everything outside of that bucket. But for you, this is the bucket that you're in, right? Engineer 1, this is what you do. This is your responsibilities. To get to engineer 2 or graduate engineer 2, whatever, here's those responsibilities, roles, titles, blah, blah, blah. This is what you handle. And so then it becomes very clear, very easy to understand, both from a boss as well as the individual contributor. Like, what is this? Can this person move up? Have you met these requirements? Or hey, are you a deficient here, here, and here? Right? Like, oh, we can move you to the next pay grade within, engineer 1, but we can't really move you to engineer 2 yet. okay, can we review this in 6 months, right? Or 3 months, or pick another time period. So then you have not only clear cut milestones, but then you can put in review periods to then move people along. Something I've been thinking about tremendously here as I look to build out my own org chart moving forward is, in the beginning, people are going to wear multiple hats. So like the pay ranges may or may not work. But as you mature as an organization and you really create clear defined roles, or you're able to keep those people in those clear defined roles, it becomes pretty easy to like, hey, this is what it is. This is actually what it is, right? I don't need 10 years of experience. I need like fresh college graduate, like, hey, I need somebody with a license, right? I don't need 10 years. We'll teach you everything else. Like, I need freshly minted engineer. Cool. Like, we'll train you the rest of the way. So whatever those positions are, then it becomes easier to fill your own buckets. It becomes easier to recruit. It becomes easier to retain, and it becomes easier to reward those people for staying. Now, rewards on clients, it's what is special? What can you do that's outside the box for your clients to keep them as clients, right? To tell all their friends about how easy it was to work with, right? Like, how were your meetings? Did you provide minutes? Are you on the ball with everything? Like, did you go above and beyond, right? Like, that's really the question. How well do you communicate? How well do you achieve? And do you do what you say you're going to do? Like, this comes back to that very simple thing of doing what you're saying you're going to do. It's really that simple. I just hate to put it in any more complex terms. Ascension, really, this is about giving your people raises and more responsibility, which we kind of covered in the reward piece. I think those are very intertwined in rewarding and ascending. And then creating the machine, as kind of I outlined in the rewarding and ascension piece. If you create clear job descriptions, if you create clear milestones, if you create clear definitions, you create clear timelines for review, you hold everybody accountable to it, that creates a pretty good system for putting people in. They know when they're going to get raises. They know what they need to do. They know what they need to achieve. It's very clear cut, very like to the point. Everybody knows. And then you just have to stick to it. It's a clear cut system. Yes or no, right? It becomes that simple. And the more and more that you can put in of yes or no, like, hey, these are our core values. Does this person meet it? Yes or no, right? Do we bring them on? Is this client now the client piece, and like, do they match our values? Obviously, you want more often than not that to be a yes. There's always going to be times where like that client might not match perfectly, and there's probably going to be some regret with those projects. But there's also going to be times where you need that for just pure like cash flow and business purposes, and you can't not take the revenue. So, like, as much of an altruist as we want to be in a lot of scenarios, realize that, for the most part, we still need to just take the revenue. So, understanding that, like, we're going to have those situations too that come up. But the more and more that we can align our core values, the more that we can say this is like, it's either a hell yes or a no. The more we can make our decisions clear cut, black and white kind of things, the more we can have standard operating procedures, the more we can have clear cut review processes, the more we can have clear cut ascension paths for raises and all that kind of stuff versus how we're feeling that day whenever review day comes around. Like, did you meet this? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? Cool. Great. You get, you're in the next pay bracket. You're in the next deal. We're giving you a new title, raise, and here's what you need to do to meet the next criteria, right? Very simple, very straightforward, very clear cut. And just, it's above board with everybody. I think so often in hiring, especially, or really in raises, you're like, I don't know, have I done enough? I think I've working pretty hard, but there's no real standard to measure against. Like, what are we doing here? Right? We don't always have that clear cut answer. So the more that we can give the team a clear cut answer, the more that we can give our clients clear cut answers, the better off we're all going to be. So that's really the simple nuts and bolts of, retain, reward, ascend, but really attract, retain, reward, ascend both clients and team members. Guys, thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. This is the week of Thanksgiving. I will drop another episode on the Thanksgiving Day. But if you don't listen to that and you're having a great time with your family, happy Thanksgiving from Matt and I here at the Construction Corner podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time.